The culmination of the US race to power is here at last. Donald J. Trump is the 47th President of the United States of America. Trump has set the ball rolling on big disruptors from the word-go with massive policy reversals of the previous regime. And he's got lots of flack, both from within and without. Here's a report.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
As expected, an inauguration ceremony loaded with grandeur and pageantry, and also an indication of a new regime's new paradigms to come. On the guest list at the Rotunda at the Capitol Hill, besides former US presidents, America's tech giants, and an unprecedented opening of doors to world leaders. In his inaugural address, Trump got straight to the point.
We will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
Claiming a mandate to reshape American institutions, Trump set to work unraveling what he termed President Joe Biden's anti-America legacy. Top of this long list of 80 executive orders, a national emergency along the US's southern border with Mexico. Troops will be deployed at the border immediately, boosting fossil fuel production, rolling back environmental regulations, namely the 2021 Paris Climate Accord. America, he said, will also end the new green policy of electric vehicles. The US would also no longer be part of the World Health Organization. Restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship on social media, he said, is another focus area, directly taking on the Biden administration. A special decree would allow his officials to use all their powers to cut down on inflation and make commodities cheaper. Standing out, pardons for all but 14 people who participated in the January 6, 2021 riot at the US Capitol. More than 1,500 people charged are to be set free. All pending cases related to the riot are to be dropped.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Full pardon or commutations?
Full pardon. We have about 6 commutations in there where we're doing further research.
It's been a wave of reactions both from within the United States and without. On the political front, former Speaker Pelosi hit out on the pardon for rioters. Pelosi termed it shameful that the president decided to make one of his top priorities the abandonment and betrayal of police officers who put their lives on the line. China has extended financial support to the World Health Organization. Beijing expressed hope for cooperation with Washington to resolve trade issues, stressing on stable development of China-US economic and trade relations. And there's a growing trepidation on the Mexican border of what's to come.
May he, Donald Trump, have compassion and let us cross. May he give us support, because we are suffering, 6 months since leaving Venezuela of suffering.
The winner of this race to power goes about ruthless sweeping changes in the US administration. Expect many more to come in days ahead, even alongside the protests, domestic as well as global. What matters is the difference he can make as he holds up his promise of making America great again.
The golden age of America begins right now.
Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Geoffrey Kabasavis is a Vice President of Political Studies. Niskanen Center is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Kabasavis, thank you very much for talking to us and joining us at this hour. I'll just go straight to it. Yesterday, Donald Trump stamped his authority. He indicated that he's back. He indicated that he's back. And there are so many people who paid attention to his executive orders, one of them being the Paris Agreement that he wants America to be out of, and the other one is the World Health Organization. He wants America to also be out of the World Health Organization. And now there is NATO. How committed is Donald Trump with NATO?
Well, it's good to be back with you, Eric. And yes, this is the beginning of Trump 2.0. And here in Washington, there is both exhilaration and trepidation about what's to come. Trump, I think, issued 46 executive orders last night, as well as a number of other actions, such as that sweeping pardon of virtually all of the January 6th rioters that you had mentioned. You know, it's still to be determined how Trump will respond to NATO. Trump declaring that he was withdrawing from NATO or failing to abide by its principle of collective defense would be a major step of the kind that he hasn't even yet taken yet, as momentous as some of those actions have been.
Mr. Kabasavis, should regions like West Asia and now Ukraine be worried? Because we have the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, who was just talking to participants at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and he actually did mention that he's not very sure about the US's commitment to the NATO, and he's not very sure if Trump will support his entry to the NATO. How do you think that will pan out?
You know, I think Trump is both taking credit as a peacemaker, as with the resolution, or at least the ceasefire with Israel and Hamas in Gaza, but also positing a new vision of a different kind of global order than what we've had since the end of World War II. Donald Trump seems to be reverting to almost a 19th century view of great powers, which each have their spheres of influence, which they mutually respect. But within those spheres, they're free to do what they want. And this would appear to be a reversion to a kind of world where the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. And what I think Donald Trump gets wrong is that this global order has immensely benefited America. It has not been America getting ripped off by the world, even as this order has been broadly beneficial to much of the rest of the world, too. One might even compare the post-1945 settlement to what the Treaty of Westphalia did for Europe, but applied to the whole world. It's given a stable basis on which to create genuine global prosperity. And I think Trump is putting this all at risk if he genuinely believes that America should go back to that earlier 19th century's vision of global order.
What about the relationship between the United States and Europe? Because we saw the headlines in some European countries which were not very favorable towards Trump. It's actually, they feared that Trump is really not that good of a leader when it comes to relationship with Europe.
I mean, Trump has had troubled relationships with other European leaders, most notably Angela Merkel, who was, as head of Germany, probably the leader of that bloc for some time. Trump doesn't think much of Europe generally, and part of what he's doing is asserting America's independence from Europe and its politics. On the other hand, you know, we have seen in Europe, most European countries, a real revival of a kind of populism which is anti-immigration and nativist, for which Trump can arguably be seen as the global leader now. So in that sense, it's popular that Trump's relationships could get better with Europe as groups like the AfD and other similar organizations and parties increasingly prosper in Europe.
All right, Mr. Geoffrey Kabasavis, it's always good to have you with us on this show. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on now. The U.S. Senate has unanimously approved Marco Rubio as the country's Secretary of State. Rubio is the first Hispanic and first fluent Spanish speaker to the position of top U.S. diplomat. He is Trump's first cabinet nominee to be confirmed by the Senate only hours after the inauguration. Rubio was confirmed 99 against none, with one Senate seat vacant after the inauguration of Vice President J.D. Vance.
On this vote, The yeas are 99. The nays are 0. The nomination of the great Senator Marco Rubio from the state of Florida is confirmed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table, and the President will be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
As a tradition, the Senate convenes immediately after the ceremonial pomp of the inauguration to begin putting the new president's team in place, particularly the national security officials. Action on others, including former combat veteran and Fox News host Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary, is expected later this week. Now, according to reports, Rubio will head to work on Tuesday and is expected to meet with foreign ministers from the Quad, which groups the US with Australia, India and Japan. It is seen by China as a way for the four democracies to encircle and even contain it. In his confirmation hearing last week, Rubio accused China of cheating its way to superpower status and called the Asian country the most potent and dangerous near-peer adversary US has ever had.
I think, first of all, the whole premise of his prosecution is
Vivek Ramaswamy will not take up the Trump administration role he had been named for in the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. President Donald Trump had selected Ramaswamy to lead the Government Efficiency Commission alongside billionaire Elon Musk. Ramaswamy, who sought the Republican nomination for president in 2024, has signaled plans to run for governor of Ohio. Ramaswamy's departure from the department was confirmed hours after Trump took office. Ramaswamy took to social media and wrote, "It was my honor to help support the creation of DOGE." He added that he would give me details about his future plans in Ohio. Now, according to multiple media reports, Ramaswamy will launch his campaign for Ohio governor next week. Ramaswamy, the son of Indian immigrants, made hundreds of millions of dollars at the intersection of hedge funds and pharmaceutical research. It's a career he charted and built while graduating from Harvard University and then Yale Law School. Ramaswamy's role at the Department of Government Efficiency potentially revolved around deregulation, as Tesla boss Elon Musk oversees the broader direction of the department. Sources say people close to Musk have privately undercut Ramaswamy for weeks. Trump's DOGE, which has largely remained under wraps, has been meeting regularly at Washington offices of SpaceX, a company led by Musk.
As of this moment, we are going to suspend this presidential campaign. And this is going to have to be...
Now, political stalemate between Pakistan's jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party and the PTI and government continues. Khan has given a 7-day ultimatum to the government to create a judicial commission to probe violence cases of May 9, 2023. This is when PTI supporters had allegedly attacked military installations across the country. This comes after PTI chairman Barrister Gohar Khan, along with Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Chief Minister Ali Amin Gandapur, held meetings with the army chief during his recent visit to Peshawar. Now, and according to reports, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, has been briefed about what transpired in the meeting. During the meeting, army chief advised both PTI leaders to take up political issues with the government. However, Imran Khan said that Barrister Gohar presented all matters and demands of the party directly to General Munir. Member of government side of the negotiation committee disapproved PTI's meeting with Munir and said that PTI should choose between backdoor or front door talks. 3 meetings between the government and PTI have taken place as of now. PTI presented its charter of demands that included formation of judicial commission in its last meeting on the 16th of January. There is a growing chorus in the Telugu Desam party in Andhra Pradesh to promote Minister Nara Lokesh, the son of Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, as Deputy Chief Minister. This despite the fact that the move could upset the NDA in the state. Several TDP leaders over the past few days have appealed to Chief Minister Naidu to elevate Lokesh. Lokesh is the undisputed political heir to Chandrababu Naidu. With Naidu away, there are calls that he be made caretaker chief minister. But the move risks upsetting the TDP's ally, Janasena Party, the JSP. The JSP chief, Pawan Kalyan, is the present deputy chief minister in the state. Kalyan was crucial to the coalition's spectacular victory in the simultaneous assembly and general elections last summer. Giving Kalyan the deputy chief minister's post had helped to keep him in good humor. He brings 20 MLAs and 2 members of parliament to the alliance. Now elevating Lokesh as the deputy chief minister would dilute Pawan Kalyan's position in the government. JSP leaders are not taking calls to elevate Lokesh lightly. They have dubbed it as over-enthusiasm overlooking the coalition Dharma. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer addressed the nation following the guilty plea of a teenager responsible for killing 3 girls and wounding 10 others in a stabbing spree at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in Southport, England last July. Starmer acknowledged the failures of the state in identifying the risk posed by the accused and vowed to take action. His address comes after the government announced an inquiry into the attack. Starmer vowed to find out how a teenager was able to murder 3 girls in a stabbing spree that sparked Britain's most violent riots in years.
The blunt truth here is that this case is a sign. Britain now faces a new threat. Terrorism has changed. In the past, the predominant threat was highly organised groups with clear political intent, groups like Al-Qaeda. That threat, of course, remains. But now, alongside that, we also see acts of extreme violence perpetrated by loners.
Now, according to reports, Ruda Kubana was born in Cardiff, Wales. He had been transferred to the anti-extremism program 3 times due to concerns over his fixation with violence. Now, despite these referrals and interactions with other state agencies, the authorities failed to prevent the attack. The accused pleaded guilty to 3 counts of murder, 10 counts of attempted murder, and additional charges related to possessing the poison ricin and for having an Al-Qaeda training manual. The July 29, 2024 stabbings led to a week of rioting across parts of England and Northern Ireland after the suspect was falsely identified as an asylum seeker who had recently arrived in Britain by boat. Ruda Kubana faces life imprisonment, and his defense lawyer plans to present information about his mental health which may be relevant to his sentence. Judge Julian Goose said he would sentence Ruda Kubana on Thursday. South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol appeared in the Constitutional Court for the first time today. Yoon Suk-yeol has denied he had ordered the military to drag out lawmakers at the National Assembly to prevent them from voting down his martial law decree last month. In his first public appearance since he became South Korea's first sitting president to be detained, Yoon Suk-yeol reiterated that the mobilization of troops to the assembly was not aimed at frustrating a vote on his decree. He argued that he couldn't afford backlashes if he pushed to obstruct an assembly vote physically.
In South Korea, the National Assembly and media are stronger than the president. If I really did try to prevent the vote, they could have done it somewhere else, and they could have demanded the lifting of the martial law some other time. If I had obstructed the vote, I think I wouldn't have been able to handle the consequences.
Yoon Suk-yeol's lawyer has said that the president would appear for all hearings henceforth unless there are other factors. Authorities are separately investigating whether Yoon Suk-yeol and others committed rebellion, used or abused power, and other crimes in connection with the martial law decree. Local law says that the leader of a rebellion plot is punishable by a life sentence or death penalty if convicted. The assembly had impeached Yoon Suk-yeol on the 14th of December. His presidential powers and responsibilities stand suspended. The Constitutional Court has to determine by June whether to formally dismiss Yoon Suk-yeol as president or reinstate him. Observers say a court ruling on his future is expected to come sooner. Belarus goes to polls on the 26th of January. President Alexander Lukashenko, who has been at the helm since 1994, will be seeking a re-election for a sixth term. And watchers say this election too is only a likely formality. Lukashenko is Europe's longest ruling leader and the only president his country has known. He is known to have close ties to the Kremlin, and allegations of violent suppression of dissent have made him an outcast in the West. Lukashenko has frequently been referred to as Europe's last dictator. He was declared winner in 2020 with 81% of the vote, with the result strongly contested by the West. His opponent, Svetlana, was sent to exile. Hundreds were arrested in demonstrations that followed the 2020 election. A human rights group says a new wave of arrests of Lukashenko's opponents took place in November 2024 to prevent them from mobilizing ahead of the coming election. Now, reports say all major opposition figures this time have either been driven into exile or even jailed, with no strong face to oppose him. The only thing to watch out for will likely be the size of the victory margin. The opposition has called for a boycott. In 2021, Belarusian authorities had arrested an opposition journalist, leading to a wave of economic sanctions and flight bans. This has led to deepening of Lukashenko's dependence on Russia. Lukashenko had allowed Russia to use his country as a staging ground for the invasion of Ukraine back in 2022, but he had stopped short of sending Belarusian troops to participate in the war. And that's the latest on this edition of Race to Power on WION The World is One. Thank you for watching. Stay with us.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. The biggest gathering of humanity on the planet.
This is quite an interesting spot.
WION brings you exclusive coverage from the ground of the Mahakumbh Mela.
These bikes will be patrolling all around.
From security to infrastructure, from tent city to Sangam, we've got you covered. This is Triveni Sangam, where Ganga, Yamuna, and the mythical Saraswati rivers meet. Experience faith. Experience culture.
Tent as well.
Experience Mahakumbh. Only on WION. World is one.
Welcome back. This is WION World is One. We are glad you're watching. Time now for Fine Print. I'm Eric Njoka. Our top stories.
Will President Trump even notice Europe? Does he see NATO as necessary?
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky questions whether Donald Trump is committed to NATO and European security in an address to the World Economic Forum in Davos. Russian President Vladimir Putin holds virtual meeting with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, emphasizing the two countries' close ties. This a day after Donald Trump's swearing in. The head of Israel's military resigns, citing his